Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 11th River Falls City Council meeting. First thing we'll do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christie, cover roll call, please.
Bierstead.
Here.
Bjork.
Here.
Carroll. Downing.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Odine.
Here.
Okay, next I have approval of the minutes from the June 27th meeting.
So moved.
Second. First, second on the minutes. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next I have approval of the bills with Mr. Morissette.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move approval of the bills in the amount of $2,419,256.60, subject to the comptroller's review.
Second.
First and second, questions about the bills? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next move on to public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that has something they'd like to say, come on up. Remember to sign in, state your name and where you're from.
I'm signed in. My name's Dave Curtin, and I work for Lamar Advertising. In regard to the ordinance 2023-10, I ask that you consider two amendments to that. Section 9-12 to allow for 6 seconds on the displays, and then Section 16 to remove the requirement for static sign removal. That's all that I had.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Dana Linscott. I have appeared before the council a couple of times on behalf of the homeless individuals in River Falls. And recently the council passed an anti-homeless ordinance that appears based to replace a unofficial policy, an anti-camping policy. It is actually an anti-sleeping policy, and I was led to understand that Mr. Gerhardt drafted this. Is that correct, Mr. Gerhardt?
You can't engage. Tell him he can't.
No, he just, you're
It's
talking to us.
already been, an ordinance that this was modeled on has already been ruled unconstitutional in federal court. Just recently that was clarified, actually yesterday it was clarified even further. It's unconstitutional, which means officers that try to enforce this are stripped of their immunity. You can't target people with an unconstitutional law. Even worse, most of the people that are targeted by this ordinance are disabled and are a protected class. Ms. Odine should know what that is and should be able to inform the rest of you if you're at all interested in it. When I attempted to speak to city employees, from Mr. Simpson to Chief Young, to ask how any homeless person in River Falls could avoid violating this anti-sleeping, no camping ordinance, nobody, well, Mr. Simpson directed me to Chief Young, who said that he just refused to answer any questions on it. Mostly this has been used to threaten homeless people to get them outside of the city limits, which is traditionally what small towns have done. But River Falls isn't a small town anymore. It's got to act like a big town. It has to follow the Constitution of the United States of America. Let me read this to you. Camping on public property. To camp or camping means to set up or remain in a campsite. That's pretty straightforward. You'd think you'd be able to understand that. Everyone knows what camping is, except then it goes on to say, campsite means any place where any bedding, sleeping bag, or other sleeping materials are placed, established, or maintained, regardless of whether such place incorporates the use of any tent, lean-to, shack, or any other structure, any vehicle, or part thereof. The fine for this is over $100, which obviously somebody that can't afford to do anything but sleep in their car or sleep on the ground or sleep in a tent, they can't afford that. That's also a violation of our US Constitution. It's inhumane, it's immoral. And you guys made it, and you're encouraging the police to enforce it. If you stand by it, I don't see how the city is going to avoid litigation. I just don't see how it's possible. I'm not going to bring litigation, but I'm a witness. I just don't see how it's possible. If that doesn't bother you and you're fine with the taxpayers' money being wasted like that, instead of to humanely help these disabled individuals on our streets, it's on you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to say?
Mr. Mayor, I'll
Yep,
make a
go
comment
ahead.
real quick for next Wednesday, July 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Glen Park. The public is invited to come help celebrate the 125th anniversary of Glen Park. Free cake, free swimming at the pool, and posters and postcards. So hope everybody can make it. Turn out. Thank you.
Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is close the council hearing and open a public hearing on ordinance 2023-10, amending Title 17 zoning, chapters 17.44, 17.68, 17.84, and 17.116 related to electronic reader board signs. This is the second reading. Is there anybody in the audience has anything like to say about this? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and reopen up the council hearing, and I'll take a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion, we approve, oh, wait a minute, here we go. Amending Title 17, I'm sorry, Title 17 zoning, chapters 17.44, 17.68, 17.84, 17.116, related to reader boards.
Second.
First and second, questions, comments?
Could we have Mr. Curtin come up and just answer a couple questions, or is that too late?
Well, I think it's too late. We already had his public comment signs.
Okay, but if we have questions. Oh, it will be now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead. If you want to ask him a
Yeah,
question, go ahead.
my question is on that 6 seconds, is that only just because that's what your other billboards do, or is there a reason why 6 seconds versus what we had down there?
6 seconds is our industry standard. And I look back at the old documentation that didn't quite address digital signage in the city, and I believe it was 8 seconds.
Right.
We're asking for 6, and I believe now it's even more restrictive. So that's where the 6 seconds comes from. Our entire industry is 6 seconds.
Okay. All right.
I do have a question. Are electronic billboards able to go slower?
We can set any time frame
Okay.
on the display
Okay,
message.
thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for our city administrator.
Yeah.
Mr. Simpson, when I was reading through the packet, I didn't see a recommendation for trying to make this quicker than what it said in the packet. And I suspect it might be because of potential distractions to people driving. Is that correct?
So there's a recommendation from the Plan Commission to the council on this, so they've reviewed it and they've forwarded it to you with their favorable recommendation. There isn't an additional comment from staff, if that's your question. And then the second question you're asking was, which part of the ordinance did you have a question about the
What was
origin?
being briefly discussed? Is the reason why there's no other amendments to this being suggested tonight because it would be a distraction?
Yeah, I mean, that's a policy decision of the council. I think that is one of the arguments that can be made about limiting the amount of changes in a sign, is because it can cause additional distraction for drivers or others.
Okay.
So I think the ordinance we have now is in front of you is 15 seconds, every 15 seconds. So 4 messages a minute, or 4 billboards per minute, how you want to look at it. But I can't speak for the motivation of each plan commissioner and why they thought that was a good time.
Thank you for
may-
clarifying that.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I sit on Plan Commission and distraction was discussed. The time limit of individual signs was discussed. And if I can generalize, it was generally the thought of the Plan Commission that this is a fairly big step from our old ordinance, which only allowed red signs and didn't allow changing very often at all. And so I think the thought was that it would be a little bit easier to like tread lightly going into what's a big change, and then it can be adjusted as necessary.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you, Councilmember Odine.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, we got a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next move on to the consent agenda. Just one thing, a resolution approving award of 2023 mill and overlay program contract. Does anybody want to pull this or?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull this.
Yep. Go ahead.
1 second here. In the packet, it talks about a policy, Mr. Simpson, where it talks about a policy regarding if work isn't done right. Now, I know that some cities have what's called a stamp or insurance that comes with it, but in this case, it says policy. Now, does it say how long that policy lasts if there's something that's amiss with work that's done or unexpected that they would cover?
I think the city engineer is here and can speak to the warranty periods for the mill and overlay. Is that what you're asking is?
Yep.
Kind of.
I'd have to go back and look at our standard language, but I believe this contract states that workmanship is a 12-month warranty period.
12-month warranty, okay. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, I move approval of consent agenda item number 3.
Second.
Any other questions or comments on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next, number 4 is a resolution authorizing membership in the cities and villages mutual insurance, thank you, mutual insurance company. And that would be Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company. I'll take a motion on this.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next one is a resolution authorizing insurances through the Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And resolution authorizing property insurance coverage through Municipal Property Insurance Company.
I so move.
Second.
First and second, any questions or comments?
I just want to comment that I found the staff memo on this issue very helpful. So I wanted to thank them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next, administrator's report. If anybody's got anything for Scott, Scott, you got anything?
Sure, I've got a
Franklin?
few updates. So as we've spoken about, July 12th through 16th is River Falls Days. July 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. is the River Falls Days Parade. There's more information about River Falls Days at the rfchamber.com/River Falls Days 2023. The library is holding an event during River Falls Days called River Falls, the First 50 Years as a City, 1885 to 1935. That's on July 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the library. Thursday, July 20th is the next installment at 6 p.m. of Cookout Conversations. That will be at Osnes Park, which is the small downtown park located immediately across from the fire station. Mayor Tolan and the River Falls Council members will be hosting a cookout and conversations on that time. Enjoy a free meal, celebrate a neighborhood park, and meet new people. And there are some new activities this year for some of our smaller residents for them to come out and enjoy as a family. I do want to mention or take note, tonight is the last council meeting, at least for a while, of Assistant City Administrator Jason Stroud. Jason is joining the Virginia Beach, Virginia staff as their EMS director. Jason, I just want to thank you for all the assistance you've provided me and the rest of the staff. Perspective you've been able to provide us, the good memo on the insurance. But a special thanks for all of your work with various partners in the community as an extender of the city administrator's office, specifically for your work through the COVID time period here and your liaison with public health. I know public health also found you to be a great resource during our dealing with COVID together as a community. And also specifically to thank you for help with the difficult transition of the EMS from city operated to a hospital-based EMS. So just hope the council would join me in a round of applause for Jason. Appreciate his work.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Mayor and Council. And just thank you for the opportunity. 5 years, I'm sure, probably isn't considered long enough for some of you. Some of you may think it was way too long, Mayor Dan. But I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate, I learned quite a bit, and the relationships that were built will hopefully last me a lifetime. And I'm looking forward to going back home, but certainly we will miss River Falls. I will say my wife would probably stay here forever if I would have been king. We love it that much, but she's also a good sport and supportive about kind of my endeavors. So we're looking forward to that. So thank you again.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jason.
Jason.
Are you a Packer fan now or still a Steelers fan?
I will root for the Packers so long as they're not playing the Steelers, and I don't have to worry about them ever approaching the ring count. So
Nice.
Okay, you're leaving now?
And Dan, I have a question for you. Will the hot dogs and hamburgers be fully cooked without being burned this coming picnic?
We can only hope.
Okay,
That would be the goal.
all right. That's all I had to ask.
Yep. Okay, so we're gonna recess into closed session per Wisconsin State Statutes 19.851E for the following purposes: deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, to wit, University of Wisconsin River Falls Science Technology Partnership.
I make a motion, we move into closed session.
Second.
Christie, you can have roll call, please?
Bjork,
Yes.
Odine,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Morset,
Yep.
Downing,
Yes.
Bierstadt.
Yes.
Okay, we'll now move into closed session.